Oh, here we are. We are back sober in the States. Football. That's right. We're going back to our roots. We're going to talk some Major League Soccer because guess what? The first round of the playoffs is over, and dude, the top three in the East are gone. See you, Messi. LOL, Miami. See you, Columbus. No one had that on their bingo card.
I know, right?
And Cincinnati, we kind of knew. We kind of knew. The West is a little chalk. Here we go. But hey, we are here to talk about it. And Thomas, I got here. I had to bring on the ATL fan, the Messi fan himself, okay? Because we had to bring
Oh,
you on. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about all the
sweet
games.
redemption. Just
Oh,
like you could have a completely tumultuous season. It doesn't matter because if you win playoffs, who cares? FEA.
who cares? Who cares? It's not like we let you in the playoffs or anything. Real quick, Mike
What?
Baston in the chat. Howdy, mates. Red or dead? What is up? What is up? Daniel, yes. I'd like to thank everyone who used their willpower in the Miami Hate Watch. You love to see it. And Daniel, we'll be excited if Chris is on. Look, I got to tell you, things have gotten so crazy in MLS. Things are that crazy that we had to bring him on, baby.
Whoa!
You know it's bad. You know MLS is MLSing when Chris, the MLS card guy, has come out of whatever darkness pit that he was hanging out in. So Chris, the MLS card guy, what the heck is up?
Dude, it was like a full week of mourning after our elimination from the playoffs, and then Messi was eliminated, and I was like, that's just what the greats do, you know? The greats get knocked out in the first round. And so I feel a little bit better now, and I'm here and ready to talk now.
Oh yeah, we are here, dude. You know we had to bring out all the greats to talk about this Miami fumbling the bag so bad that Jordi Alba thinks that this format's stupid. The champion of the West should play the champion of the East. We should call it a day. But this is America, baby. That's not how we do it here.
That is the most boring and uninspiring and uncreative proposal I would expect from someone that spent their entire career in Europe. Yeah, let's just have the Super Cup.
Yeah, don't we already have that? Don't we already have the Campiones Cup or something?
Yeah, give me a break. Playoffs, yes, they're not perfect, but just the idea that you wouldn't give the rest of the teams the chance to get it. I mean, let's talk about how many teams that actually won the Shield have won the actual cup.
Yeah.
So the last one was Toronto, right?
Very few.
Yeah.
8 years ago or something like that.
2016, 2015, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is 8 years. Oh my god.
You want to know? You want to know why the playoffs are great? Because the playoffs have made Jorge like Atlanta, and I didn't think that would ever happen. Here we are.
A lot of people.
Here we are.
A lot of people.
And
like
now,
Atlanta.
and now we're set up for a beautiful clash between the two of you, and I can't wait for this. I'm just like, I need some popcorn. Like, anybody got a bowl of popcorn or anything?
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Okay, we were all rooting for Atlanta to get it done. Granted, let's be real, not many of us had that much hope. Okay, to me it was like, hey, take him to 3 games, whatever. Then there's international break. Messi's going to be tired, tire him out, so that we could take care of business. All right, we were going to go down to Fort Lauderdale, cause a ruckus, turn Miami purple, and no, now we have Atlanta coming back over here, and they know they could beat us because they did on decision day. We're only here because they beat us at home.
Atlanta's going to take the entire state of Florida now. They already conquered South Florida, and now they're coming for the rest of the state.
I know, man, it's happening. And this is the funny part is that for the East, the path is not complicated at all. If you're able to get to get past this round, you either play the New York Red Bulls, who, don't get me wrong, I don't know if suddenly when Klopp joined with the Red Bulls organization, he just sent the memo over to New York and said, hey, this is how you beat Wilfred Nancy.
Hey, guys, you can actually win games in the playoffs. That is an option. I think that's all he said. I think that's all he said to them. He just let them know it was an option, and here we are.
What if you just scored goals?
Yeah. It's like it's a crazy idea.
I don't know, man.
But that's why they pay him the big bucks, because he comes up with the crazy ideas.
Doesn't want to coach the national team, but yeah, he'll take over the Red Bull organization. Why not? That sounds way easier.
Let's coach like 7 teams instead of the national team. That makes sense.
But
yeah, to your point, you get one of the New York teams, and like both of them are terrible. So whoever gets out of this one, kind of a favorite.
The East is wide open right now for anybody.
It is. It is.
That's the thing. Is that's the wild part right here, and I'll just add this to the fire where there are some comparisons happening right now for Atlanta's MLS Cup run to Seattle's MLS Cup run when Brian Schmetzer was an interim coach.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, are you praising the Valentino? Yeah, let's get into it right now. Talk to me about, because I had to text you that night too. I was like, "Yo, man, is this Rob Valentino's job?" Walk me through the emotions of taking down LOL Miami, because
And why isn't your head shaved? Also, like I feel like everyone in Atlanta should be bald by now.
I feel like it's sort of the bread and butter of our wins lately. So I talked to a few friends about this at Brewhouse, which y'all know when you came and visited. And your sticker's still up there, by the way, Jorge.
Lovely.
And I did check. But I was saying, what would be y'all's qualifier to hire Rob full time? And for me, I think it's if he can get to MLS Cup. Some were saying if he wins MLS Cup. I say no. If you're able to win essentially 5-6 games on the road to close out the season, which would be probably one of our highest since we won the cup
ever.
Yeah, it's an easy. You got to go with it. The interesting thing about Rob is, and this is my one question, is his style is way more practical than Pineda's. Where Pineda, his idea was we dominate the ball at all times. We have to possess the ball at all times. And Rob's goes, what if we don't possess the ball and we just score goals? Like maybe we don't need to do that.
Are you sure he's not Jurgen Klopp?
Right. And then obviously Brad has to, have complete career games for the remainder of the year. But it's an interesting transition because we have had some games when y'all came into Atlanta, like Nashville, where in that game we had to have possession because Nashville was giving it to us, but we couldn't do anything with the ball. And you say, what's the idea here? And you say, is he the right guy? But then you look at the trend and taking down top teams and winning games on the road consecutively. I mean, that's something that's needed in order to actually be competitive at the league level. So it's his approach is more practical in terms of his tactics. Yeah, I mean, he even says it himself. He goes, "I'm not some tactical genius." So the question is whenever it comes time, if we feel like we have a roster that can truly compete for titles, will he be able to find tactics that actually dominate, or will he continue to take this approach of we're okay not controlling the ball? Because I think there are teams out there. You take a team like LAFC who likes to work off the counter. So they can still dominate, right? They can have a really lethal attack, but you don't necessarily need to dominate possession like Columbus Crew or New York City if you don't have the players, or you just feel like maybe that's not the right approach for this team. So I think that's the first point. The second bullet really is around the ability to attract players. Part of what people have talked about is that we're obviously going to get a new sporting director who I think everyone thinks is going to be out of Miami, and our technical director, and to replace Bocanegra. And do we have the coach that will actually attract the types of players that we want? I think you'd argue that the types of players that we want aren't always going to be the high-flying signings like Griezmann or Messi or something along those lines, but signings that are still great quality like Moranchuk and everyone that we brought in during even this winter window like Schlich and others. So I don't worry about that as much. And I would say I think we can still attract great players if we have a great club. And that means facilities, that means the ability to pay a great wage, and that means bringing a great atmosphere, which if you saw the atmosphere against Miami and Atlanta, that was fantastic. I wasn't at that game. I was up with my parents in North Georgia, but I had friends telling me that was the loudest they probably heard the stadium get since 2017, 2018.
Which is insane. Dude, yeah. The Benz was probably rocking that night. It's insane the run that Atlanta's been able to, and like it just keeps getting bigger, right? With the momentum. It's like decision day. You weren't even supposed to make the playoffs. You're welcome.
Yeah.
No, you're welcome too, because DC also had to lose.
Yeah, right. Like there's like 5 outcomes.
Both welcome.
I was Charlotte's been the one that's always been helping us out, is what I'll say. Because when we lost to Charlotte, that's when they fired Pineda. When we beat Charlotte, I don't think they were connected, but that's when we fired Bocanegra. and then when Charlotte wins against Philly, that's when we get into playoffs. So now I'm scared because Charlotte's out of the
playoffs. Well, Charlotte lost to Orlando, so now you can beat Orlando.
So maybe that's the outcome we were hoping for, because like we needed them to lose so that we can win. Yeah, they do. So they'll do this for the Club World Cup as well. They'll have to do this. Sorry. They'll do this pitch change again, and they'll do it for whenever they have other games here. But yeah, I think the Copa was a testing ground to see how well players responded to the pitch. To be honest with you, I think they were kind of non-stories. Like Argentina was looking for excuses.
Classic.
I mean,
I've been Messi.
Yeah, I've walked on that pitch before. It is bouncy. I'll tell you that. But I think I haven't been on it when they've installed grass, but it seems to be working well because they keep on getting venues, and so we'll have teams for the Club World Cup, and that'll be grass.
They do it for that, but not for the MLS. Jesus Christ. But yeah, Red or Dead brings it up 133 subs away from Messi. That's right. Get our subscriptions up on YouTube, and someone's getting a limited Messi card from my gallery because he's dead to me. Oh, Paolo in here, also a legend. Alex is okay. He's just too busy for us. So he's not here. And don't worry, we'll get you the Valley picks.
Things. What a jerk.
Yeah, he's in school doing internships for the basketball team and doing all this cool stuff while we're sitting here talking about MLS and laughing at Messi. Chris, on the other side, and like this is the question that's floating around. I'm going to bring it to you. Is this still a successful season for the Inter Miamis? Even though they didn't win MLS Cup, yeah, they set the points record. Yeah, they won the Shield. Yeah, they did all the Messi things and the Miami things. But is this still a successful season for them, or do they just the expectations were too high?
No, it's not a successful season for them. They didn't win. I hate that answer, but that's the answer. We were talking about Jordi Alba's pitch of like, we need to just have the two best teams play each other, and it's very boring. If you want to find out who the best team is, that's how you do it, though. You have a long season. You have a lot of games, a lot of data points. You find out who the best two teams are. Maybe you have them play a game, or you just Premier League it and say whoever's the best at the end wins. But since this is the system that we have, and you have to go through the playoffs to win the MLS Cup, they did not do that. So no, it was not a successful season for them. I mean, financially, I'm sure it was a successful season. They sold a lot of jerseys. They made a lot of great partnerships, I'm sure. But on the field, if you have the best player in the world and you're paying, I'm assuming, crazy money, to Messi and the rest of that staff, I think your expectations are win or bust, and they busted. So no,
but they still qualify for the Club World Cup.
No, that's true. That's true. They did still qualify somehow.
Yeah, because I don't know how that. Well, I guess Supporter Shield. I guess that's
technically.
I mean, that's how.
Well, they announced the criteria after they had already won the Shield. It's like, oh yeah, they won the Shield. They're going to the Club World Cup.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any way to get Messi into the Club World Cup, we'll take it.
Dude, they can't even get a TV deal. How are they going to sell tickets without Messi, bro? Without Messi, there's no deal. That's the deal. They had to get him in there. But yeah, dude, you love to see it. It is just chef's kiss watching Messi go out like
honestly,
that.
I think it's a successful season for Atlanta and Orlando now, just because Messi's out and they survived past Messi. All the teams that are still left, they're good. All successful seasons.
Like everybody wins at this point. Like everybody, and it got to the point where they just shoved it down our throats so much for the entire season that I don't think anybody was left rooting for Messi at this point, except for people in Fort Lauderdale. Like that's it. It was just got to the point where we're just sick of it and we're tired of it. So we'll see how they handle things next year. Obviously, their cash cow is starting to get a little stale.
To Bob's point about not being ideal for soccer. I honestly love the 3-game set idea, but I hate the fact that you just go straight to penalties, because a penalty shootout is just a coin flip. So like, Columbus, they lost the first game, but like they just lost on penalties in the second game. If they win that coin flip, Cincinnati is the same way, right? If they win that coin flip, they had 4 chances for New York City, I guess, to put them away. But It's all like it's so random. Like one kick goes wrong, one save gets made, one keeper dives the wrong direction, and like your season is effectively over, which is a really stupid way to do it. Like play extra time, go through the whole thing, and then like you can golden goal. Like I love golden goal. Golden goal is so much more fun from a neutral perspective. It sucks for the teams,
Orlando
but
and
it's
Charlotte would have been there for
so
2
much more
hours.
fun.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, so you can't just play golden goal forever. Like you do have to go to penalties at some point, but like give the teams a chance to like, hey, if you want to push people forward to get the goal that wins the game, then you're good. And we've just watched at the stadium. We just had the high school soccer playoffs, and they use golden goal in extra time. And my God, every time you go up and down the stadium, every time you go up and down the field, it's like, oh my God, is this it? Is this it? Is this it? And it's like 30 minutes of just like on the edge of your seat, like waiting for a win to happen.
High school football.
So yeah, I mean, from a neutral perspective, I think golden goal would be so much more fun, and it just gives that added tactical, like it gives that added tactical thing where you can't just sit back for 90 minutes and pray for penalties and knock somebody out because you're playing at home and you're not ever going to score against them anyway. Like
yeah, I think the
crazy.
issue is players are already really pushing back on the amount of games that they're making them play in addition with this 3-game series. And I know that they obviously want to lead into the next game immediately. They don't want to have too much extra time, but players are going to be exhausted if you have them play a series of 3 and you're talking about potentially having extra time every single one of those games. That would be
well. Then just win the game in regulation. Stop playing for ties.
There it is.
See, this is what I think they should do. Right? They should play the first game. If it goes to extra time, just like the FA Cup, you do a replay at the other team stadiums. Like one team has a huge incentive to go attack and win that game. There's no penalty shootout, right? It's one round. If you win the first game, you're good. You're through. But then if you don't win the first game as the home team, then the other team gets a chance for 90 minutes. You know what I mean? Like just flip it around so that it just gives coaches different tactical incentives to push and not to push, right? To like play for the win, try to play for the set. Like that's just going to open up the game for more fun. Whereas if it's penalties, like everybody thinks they can win a penalty shootout. So nobody wants to attack because nobody wants to lose the game. It's like you get so many games that end in penalty shootouts because everybody's like, well, at least we have penalties, Like there's no advantage or disadvantage to going to penalties.
Yeah, I think and I remember when they introduced this format, it was because they wanted to make sure every team got at least one home game during playoffs.
Yeah, because money.
And they want to capitalize.
It's kind of a good idea, to be fair.
Personally, I like it. I mean, because if you think about it, if we had single game elimination for the entirety of playoffs, like we wouldn't have gotten that game in Atlanta. That was arguably one of the top 3 to 4 games ever played in that stadium.
And they were all nail biters. Like they were all coming down to the end, last kick, just stoppage time goal, just all drama. The entire
Brad Gazan getting pushed into his own net and like.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll add too is what I like about 3-game series is it's the same thing whenever you see something in NBA, more physical sports, right? Now, like baseball, players aren't necessarily running into each other all the time. Man, you can just see how frustrated you get after having to go against the same defender, the same attacker for 3 consecutive games. And the players are tempering, emotions are high. You get chippy. I mean, that's where I think that you saw it in game 3 for the Miami Atlanta series, right? It was chippy. Gazan was going at it with Suarez the entire match.
Well, Guzan's been on one the entire playoffs because he got into it with Yosef too.
Yeah, right. But it's super chippy. It's just high intensity all the way. And you don't even know, like you don't know when that basically pitch brawl is about to break out.
It has been a little spicy. I do agree that playing each other back to back to back, you start to learn each other. You know if they're going to cut left, they're going to cut right. You know which foot they like, and it just becomes a stalemate at this point. I think that's also why so many of these games with the penalty. But hey, they were entertaining, right? MLS is going to MLS. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I think pens just give you the incentive to not push for the win.
I
They
agree.
give you the
I agree.
fallback option of like, well, at least we can get to penalties, even
I
if
would-
you're the better team. You know?
Yeah, I would assume that was a player request to not go to extra time and not an MLS thing because, like I said, they're trying to make sure they're not having to play. What we'll say, like if you had 2 games, 3 games, all go to 120 minutes, right? In the
Right.
span of a week and a half, or
Right.
is it 3
That'd be
weeks
way
or
too
2?
much. Yeah,
Just
that'd
be
be
too
way
much.
too much. Way too much.
Just
For
be
sure.
too-
Might
yeah.
as well just play more games.
Yeah.
Best
If
of
you,
five,
Might as well
baby.
add
if
a
you were gonna
fourth
do,
game.
if you were gonna do that, yeah,
It's
best
NBA
of 7.
season. Best of 7.
Best
baby.
of 7. No, if you were gonna add extra time, I don't think you would do the 3 games format. Like I do understand that. I think that's too much, but yeah, something to just give these coaches tactical incentive to attack or to defend, or like something to kind of separate these teams, because soccer is a lot about intent. Like if you're not trying to score a goal, you're never scoring a goal. If you're trying not to concede, you're much less likely to concede a goal than if you're trying to attack.
But
Which
you
is-
will in the
Open
90th
it
minute.
up.
Yeah, like you look at the Houston-Seattle game, like the first game of that series, Houston was not trying to score, is what
Yeah.
I read. I read Houston's going.
Remember
for
the RSL
penalties.
Seattle game? Remember that from a couple of years ago, where
Yeah,
RSL let them have 23 shots and didn't take a shot the whole game, and then won in PKs, and was like, "What are we doing? Craziness!"
You're telling me you can win the playoffs without taking a shot on goal? I love America. This is incredible. It's the greatest place on earth. All the Europeans would never understand.
add in classic MLS penalties, the run-up penalty.
Oh yeah,
That's what needs to
bring
come
those
back.
Bring
The
those
30-yard
back.
penalties? Yeah.
The problem
dude.
is those players were so bad that it was so easy to score goals in that, and they would just not. They would just like run at the goalkeeper and then like shoot from a mile out. And it was like, what are you doing? Just round the goalkeeper. Like it's not that hard.
Hey, there you go. More utility with the best of 7. I think we're on to something, y'all. Someone get
All right.
Nico on the phone right now.
Here's what we do. 3 regular season games apiece, and then everybody plays best of 7s the entire rest of the year. You play best of 7 against every other team, and
So
you
baseball.
just keep moving on. It's
We
great.
could just do the inverse, like what Argentina is doing, where they do like a Copa at the very beginning of the year, and then they play actual league play where it's a 1 versus like every team in the league. So you just do MLS Cup at the start of the year,
There you
and
go.
then the rest of the year is just you play every team once, and whoever wins that gets supporter shield.
So Leagues Cup.
There you
So
go.
Leagues
Then we
Cup.
get here in the season. There you go. We fixed Leagues Cup too. Look at us go.
Leagues
It
Cup
is-
was already a preseason tournament in the middle of the season, so just move it.
But I mean, if we switch the calendar, it'll be a preseason tournament.
Easy,
Yes.
easy, perfect.
And there's no off season. There you go. This is the most productive show we ever had. Hey, Mike Baston made a final once without winning a game. 2 buys and 2 pen wins. There you go. See,
That's
it's possible. And that's why
It's
we have the
crazy.
playoffs. But let's move on to the other side of this. While we know Atlanta advanced because LOL Miami, we have Orlando and Charlotte hosted in Orlando. It's a little bit of squeaky bum whole time because Atlanta's coming in knowing they could beat us. Doesn't feel great, but right now, dude, the door is wide open. Like, why not us at this point? Why not us? Cincinnati, whatever. Columbus, that was the other squeaky bum whole time. But hey, we are here now. It was a tough 3-game series with Charlotte. 2 good defenses, 2 shaky offenses, and boy, it was a whole lot of something. Realistically, Chief, they had us in the first half. Not gonna lie, it was looking bleak. It was looking rough. If it wasn't for a stupid pull of the jersey in the box and a penalty to Duncan McGuire, good old Duncan, making it happen even when he isn't making it happen. And we win
Truthfully,
penalties, and here we are.
do you think that should have been a penalty?
I mean, dude, the tug was like bright as day. Like it was, you couldn't deny it. Was
I've
it a little
seen it.
soft?
I've seen
Did he
that
go
not-
down a little easy?
I've seen that not call. I feel like in the Prem.
Yeah,
to be fair, MLS on the last day of the regular season took away a goal from Orlando on the last kick that knocked
That's
us
true.
out of the playoffs. So like they gave them one back now. So like Orlando's even, just like DC is not even. So
'cause we can talk about that. That was not a handball, my guy.
DC and Charlotte are
Oh, he
Charlotte,
handled it by rule. That's a handball. That's a handball by rule.
No
You
chance.
can't
not
leave
for
it.
a defender, but for an offensive
for an
player.
attacker. It doesn't.
For some
matter.
reason, it's
Yeah.
different. Like that is
That's just
why
the
is there a
rules,
double
man.
standard?
I don't make the rules. I just follow them.
Yo, that's my life
MLS
motto,
literally
baby.
does make the rules though. Like they do. Change it.
Yeah, see, it was a
Not that
pen, and it was
hard.
great drama. I was right there. I was right there in this Porter section. It happened right in front of me.
Did
It was
your
hype. It was
did your
vibes.
heart sink for a split second when Kalina stopped it?
Yes.
Or
Oh
did
my
you kind
god.
of see, okay, he's gonna
No,
hit it
it
in.
was it was like it happened so fast because you could see it fell right in front of the open net. So like you
Yeah.
could tell Faku was right there, but that first he stopped it and you were like, and then you're like, like in the same breath. You went from like, yeah, dude. It was
Isn't
a
that
whirlwind
crazy
emotion.
how like if that's a shootout penalty, he misses. But
Yeah.
if since it's not a shootout penalty, you're alive. Crazy.
And there's people talking that like they should change that rule, that shouldn't be a thing. That they're saying that if he stops the pen no matter what,
yeah,
that it
then
should
it
just
should
be
be
a dead ball.
dead ball and a goal
Yeah.
kick.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. Clearly.
Yeah.
I mean,
clearly I disagree.
clearly, at this point, I don't agree. Wait till it happens to us, and then I'll agree with it. I kind of see the merit of that though. Like you get kind of two chances unless somehow the goalkeeper, because like if you watch a penalty shootout, like those rebounds are going everywhere. Like those are going to be half the time. Those are going to be really easy putbacks.
They should know to push it out.
If
But
it
at the
gets
same time,
far
too,
enough to
you
the
could
side,
potentially, as the defending team, you could counter. I mean, that happened with that crazy Watford goal, right?
Oh my god, that was crazy.
Right,
That was
like
a crazy one.
both teams. I mean, one team obviously has more opportunity to score again after the fact, but still, it's open.
Yeah.
I'm all for keeping it the same. Make it a little bit different. Don't just be like, all right, your try's over. No.
I like the way it is.
All penalties
I like
should
the
be
way it is,
old style MLS shootout penalties anyway.
That's the real answer. Let's be real. That's what we all really want. Yeah, Mike Bassett. Yeah, it does look like the Western Conference might be winning it all. I'm not gonna lie.
No, it's these types of seasons that always it's a Cinderella team from the conference that like should have no business winning something.
So Minnesota and Atlanta United in the final, baby.
That's
that would be
no. They'll beat one of the LA teams in the final, but they'll go on the road to beat one of the LA teams. That's how your Cinderella story ends.
All right. One of us. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It's either Atlanta or Orlando at this point.
It's going to be LA. We'll know if the cup will be in LA basically after this next series, right?
Yeah.
Because
Basically,
if either team wins, then it's hosted in LA because of points.
well, it's as long as
both LA
Minnesota's
teams have to get
alive.
there.
As long as Minnesota's alive, then it's coming to the East. So the only way it's coming to the East is if Minnesota hosts. Because
But if LA beats Minnesota, then it doesn't matter. It's going to the West Coast.
Yes, yeah, 100%.
It's either going to LA or Seattle.
Yeah, LA. That's right.
Yeah, it's LA, Seattle, and then little Orlando. So hey, dude, there is a chance.
Hey,
you know,
you guys hit the Open Cup lottery, didn't you?
That's right. The Open
Why
Cup, we
not?
hosted all the way through. Why not us,
Is
baby?
Sacramento in these playoffs?
Wait, where's the USL team we got to knock
Where's
out
the
real quick?
USL
Come
team?
on.
Oh man,
We can definitely beat USL teams. Yeah, I don't know. It's Charlotte's tough defensively. Orlando did look good. They just didn't finish their chances. They did the classic, create a lot of chances, do a lot of cool things, but you keep hitting the post or kicking it right at the keeper. Like it's just classic Orlando shenanigans. So we'll see. It'll be a tight winning affair. I do want to shout out Red or Dead for winning a Militao. Dude, that's a win. And you sold it before you got injured. That's right.
You got out of there.
I wanted him to like a year ago, and I sold it.
I kind of want to see Jurgen Klopp personally take charge of New York Red Bulls and then
That
just
would be
like
sick.
wipe the floor with everybody. I
That would
can't
be
wait
fun.
for that.
Klopp and Forsberg taking over the world with Lewis Morgan just running around doing Lewis Morgan things.
Not fair.
Now that is peak football. All right. Before we keep moving on, Chris, since you have no biases whatsoever, who is winning this series? Is Atlanta taking it? Are they getting the upset, or is Orlando going to do what they do at home and wait for the referees to win the game for us?
Yo. So this is a one-off series, right? It's not a 3-game series anymore.
Yeah.
It's a one-off game in Orlando. So obviously you got the big home field advantage going. But new coach bump is a thing, and Atlanta's taking it.
It's not a new coach. It's a rent-a-coach. It's like basically
It's-
he's basically a security guard, bro. He's a rent-a-cop.
He's Paul Blart.
He's Paul Blart.
Blart coach. Paul Blart coach is going to take them to the promised land. Yeah, I think Atlanta. in a game that, is probably going to have referee controversy. There's at least
100%.
probably going to be a red card. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sorry, man. I really want Orlando.
We're done with the slander, dude. We're not doing that. Not today, bro.
Oh, come on.
I'm just kidding. Dude, we just got Chris
Now I'm
back. I
pouting
can't
in
go
the
kick
corner.
him off like that. Hey, yo, Huffman over here in the Sorare NBA streets. Welcome. I hope you're new. It's not an NBA night tonight, but we're here talking some Major League Soccer. Right? It's still in America, so we're in the States, baby. But hey, I'm just glad you're here. Maybe you'll turn into an MLS degen like the rest of us. I'm not talking to Chris for 2 minutes because he thinks Atlanta's going to win.
I'm on time,
Obviously,
Emma.
Thomas, you think Atlanta's going to win, of course. And I think Orlando's going to win. So here we are. Are you coming? Are you coming down to Orlando? A little Sunday afternoon game?
So actually, I have another trip planned that weekend.
Oh.
And I'm going to be up in Chattanooga with some friends. But I'll be back because it's on Sunday, right? Because I'll be back in Atlanta to watch it. So I'll probably go either watch it at home or go to Brew House.
Okay. All right. Well, doors always open. I saw it. Oh, God. It's a 3:30 p.m. game on a Sunday.
What a weird time.
Oh, man. Monday morning's going to be rough.
That just tells you the disrespect they had for us after beating Miami. They're like, we're going to put you in the worst slot.
They're like, oh, you took away all our revenue for the next month and a half. Guess what? Have fun playing on Sunday at 3:30.
They literally took
the NFL nerds.
Their MLS season pass subscriber projections and just slashed it by like 30%.
Gone.
Year end.
Oh man, gone. Anyway, moving on in the East, dude. Can we talk about Cincinnati going out? Lucho Acosta, is Lucho Acosta gone? Is he leaving Cincinnati? He had some words after this match, basically saying that he fears that he might have played his last game for Cincinnati after signing a giant contract. NYCFC get it done in one of the worst penalty shootouts I've ever seen in my life. But shout out to Jay Blaze. NYCFC are getting it done. Chris, what are we going to do without Lucho Acosta?
Coin flip city, baby.
This was
all I really saw from this was the penalty shootout, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, honestly, neither of these teams even deserve to be in the playoffs. Like, it would almost be better to just have a 4-team Eastern Conference playoff and just not have included Atlanta or New York or Cincinnati, and just I mean, but the crazy thing is, if we had done that, all the teams that are still left would have been out, aside from Orlando. So I don't know. Yeah, I am excited to see Hudson River Derby clash in a playoff game. Both teams not traditional playoff powers. Both teams have some choking issues in the playoffs, so they can't can't both choke. So
New York has a better record than
City is like average, but I feel like they've had a lot of high expectations at times. They've been really good in the regular season and still not won games. And then Red Bulls are the kings of that. So yeah, I'm excited to see those two teams really not like each other and go at it. The fun thing is, I feel like NYCFC is the home team, and they could be playing at Red Bull Arena. I mean, they're not.
No, they're playing at Citi Field.
They almost could be playing at the home field, the other team, because they don't have a home, which is I think is fun.
Shout out the Whitecaps.
It just occurred to me that it's both rivalry matches for these semis. Like,
and
consider that.
If you had flipped the winners of all the games, it would have been rivalries the other way too.
Yeah.
So like you would have had Cincy Columbus, and then Miami and Charlotte is less. I was thinking Miami Orlando, but so I guess Orlando's the one team that kind of ruined it. If you got all upsets or all chalk, it would have been double rivalries. But we got double rivalries either way, so we're happy.
Yeah.
But yes, Cincinnati, heartbreaking because the magic is a little bit gone. They need more not injured people.
More than Lucho and Luca Oriano.
Yeah, Lucho is not enough to be your whole offense.
They got Denke coming in.
Oh, that's true. Little Circle Bruges.
Yeah, is that Eredivisie or is that Belgium?
That's Belgium.
Belgium, yeah, Bruges. Yeah. That's an exciting signing. I already picked up a Sorare card. I picked up his in-season already. I picked up his in-season because I said, look, I'm getting an in-season card for MLS next year. It seems like the deal's basically done, just impending the actual finalizing the paperwork. I was very surprised by Lucho saying that, and I half wonder if that was a little bit of a ploy for him to try and get the club to make some big signings.
Right.
To say, hey, I don't want to stay here if you're not going to make signings. Jim Curtin.
Crazy thing is they have made signings. Like they signed
and they tried.
Yeah,
they've got big people coming that they're like,
They tried to sign Berterame, was it, from Mexico or something? Like they tried to make moves, they just all fell through. And so it's not like they didn't try.
Yeah, it's just maybe the frustration that it didn't play out, or maybe there's stuff just going on behind the scenes around contracts, around.
Well, Lucho is also just Lucho. Lucho's
he's
always on the edge of he's always a little bit of a wild card.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I wasn't sure how much to read into it, if Lucho was just really devastated by exiting out that early, and that's why.
And in that manner with PKs and 4 straight misses and.
But that's something we said all year. Like we said it all year that it's like if Lucho doesn't show up, Cincinnati has no offense, and like their defense that they used to have, locked down was just riddled with injuries all year. They lost everybody, so it's just a weird season. And I do think it was a little emotional thing.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough.
I think some South American outlets picked up on it, but it sounded like they either whenever they were speaking to him in Spanish, there was something else said that was lost in translation whenever he was, I guess it was in English. But from what I looked at, I said, no, I don't think he actually said he was leaving, because that's what the South American outlets were reporting, was that he was leaving. And I was like, no, he's not. He didn't say he was leaving. He said this might be. So maybe there's a chance that he could go to Brazil. But I feel like Cincy, if you're Cincy, you do everything you can to keep him, because he has become the face of your franchise.
Yeah, players were signing until they actually went to Cincy. No, I agree. Like the way he said it, he was just expressing that he was unhappy.
Skyline Chili, and they were like, "Oh no,
oh God,
no." He was emotional. I don't think, but their exit interviews were today, and the beat reporter said that Lucho wasn't in sight. So it does look like there are a few things in that front office that they need to work out. But yeah, if you're Cincinnati, you do whatever it takes to keep Lucho. We'll talk about NYCFC here on the other side real quick. I do want to hit this. Nick in the chat over here. Welcome. Doesn't know much about the MLS playoffs. How does it work? I'll tell you how. Or Chris, do you want to do this real quick? You're good at explaining things.
So it's a wild bracket. We take the top 9 teams for some reason because we don't have enough teams in the MLS. The 8 and the 9 play each other for the right to play against the 1 seed. And then you take the top seed and pair them against the worst seed, and then second against 7th, and so on and so forth. The first round is a 3-game set. So if the 1 team wins 2 games, then they're through. There cannot be any ties. If you tie at the end, you go straight to penalties. And then, whoever wins 2 games out of the 3 moves on to the next round. And then once you get to the semifinals, the conference semifinals, then you're playing one-off games at the home of the higher seed, and whoever wins moves on. Do they go straight to pens, or they play extra time? I think they play extra time.
I think they play extra time and then pens.
Yeah. So it's more or less like a knockout style like you'd see in the Champions League, but it's not 2 legs. It's just the 1 leg. And then whoever is the higher seed hosts the MLS Cup final, and that's who they crown champion. So it's if you're familiar with basketball, very much like March Madness, just head-to-head knockouts, single elimination, whoever moves forward wins.
Isn't it great to have Chris back? I would have fumbled that bag so hard. Oh, dude, this is incredible. Welcome back, MLS card guy. It only took a couple weeks, a few months, whatever, dude.
The ML scared guy.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Speaking of NYCFC, though, that took down this Cincinnati team. Jay Blaze over here, our resident NYCFC fanatic, wants to sign Matan for this game. He's after that Matan. Yes, Columbus Crew announced, or I guess Matan announced that he was leaving the Columbus Crew. It wasn't a terrible thing, but like you were saying, Thomas, Caleb Porter has the chance to do the funniest thing.
God, could you imagine? After Matan just made him just eat his own shorts whenever he pulled a hattie on him.
Yeah. Dear Lord, I love the MLS. Anyway, NYCFC. Like we were kind of saying, they showed cracks. They weren't that great. They had their ups. They had their downs. They were a roller coaster of a team. Maxi Morales came back from the dead came back from injuries, and he was dominating this midfield. But he is a little old. Is
a
this
little?
well,
He's Brad Guzan old, boy, and he plays in the
yeah.
field.
And Miami wasn't enough to take him down. So hey, age is just a number, baby. Age is just a number. If you can still
I
out
think
there
what
do
we're
it.
seeing
Shout out to
is-
Dax McCarty. Why is
This
Dax
is-
McCarty the best player in Atlanta? I don't know.
This is actually just MLS 2013 Cup Finals right now.
Yeah.
This is what's happening.
Oh man.
I
Oh,
think
Daniel calling you out.
yeah. Well, I'll say I thought Santi was not impressive that series.
Yeah.
I think he had a mistake leading to a goal or just had some. He did not have great games at all. I don't think he had any assist or goals, or they hardly scored any anyway. So yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting when they play Red Bulls, because I just don't know which New York team's gonna show up. And I mean that on both sides. Like, are we gonna get City's best? Are we gonna get Red Bulls best? Because I don't even think City played at their best against Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati just had a terrible day whenever making shots. Like, they just couldn't score. And City was able to just endure. Versus Red Bulls, I feel, played their plan to a T. They executed exactly how they wanted on the way they wanted to play.
They big brain Nance.
Yeah, they really were like, hey, we're just going to disrupt. We're going to disrupt like we always do against a team that loves to pass the ball, and we're going to just squeak in one or two counters that manage to go in for a goal, because Schulte makes mistakes, and he's not necessarily going to always be at the top of his game. So I don't know. It's hard to say who's going to take that next part of the series. I prefer City because I hate Red Bulls. I just hate the team so much. And it'll kill me to have to see Atlanta play them in the conference finals again. Although it would be like a repeat of 2017, so you never know. But
so these two teams also did play like a little over a month ago, September 28th, and City won 5-1. 5-1.
Yeah,
5-1.
But that was the thing.
Yeah.
Was it?
Hey, that was no Forsberg though.
No Forsberg. Columbus was killing Red Bulls for like the first 60 minutes of their final match of the season. And then they changed some things tactically, and they managed to score a couple of times. And I'm wondering if whatever they did that game to figure out how to break down Nancy's system played into their tactics for the remainder of the playoffs.
They ran the same formation. They switched to a 3-5-2 or whatever.
Yeah.
The Columbus. Yeah, they literally matched a man for man, and they were like, "All right, we're just gonna pressure you and just out pressure us." Good luck without Aiden Morris, bro. Have fun with that. And we kind of talk about that too, because this kind of goes with the Columbus Crew. Man, best team of the league. We all had them chalked.
Yeah.
Columbus Crew was chalked in. Red Bulls, come on. We're all always making fun of Red Bulls. Red Bulls fans are listening. I'm sorry, but let's be real. You guys are kind of a joke sometimes, because you guys just disrupt things. You guys cause chaos. You steal some wins, and then you just crash out of the playoffs like you always do. But yeah, like you were saying, man, whatever they did, whatever they copied from Nance, I don't know. Maybe they used drones. Maybe they stole some playbooks. I don't know. Whatever it is, but they got in there, and yeah, they matched a 1-for-1. Jurgen Klopp, baby. That's all it took. And yeah, Columbus down in 2 games. Not even that. Columbus Crew got swept by the New York Red Bulls. No best of 3. No, nothing. Swept. So
that's the wild part. Yeah.
Going into this next matchup. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. And not having Rossi, obviously, for that first game, it just shows you, it makes you wonder if who's the more important player right now for Columbus. Is it Cucho or is it Rossi?
I think it's 1A, 1B.
Or was it Aiden Morris?
Or was it?
I mean, he was getting those cheeky little goals here and there, a little decisive here and there. Yeah. I think it's 1A, 1B, though, because without Rossi, you're not stretching the field and opening up space for Cucho.
Yeah.
And then you're just relying on all the other, whoever it is, whether it's I want to say Rothrock, not Rothrock, Max Arfston, whether it's Arfston or Mofarsi or whoever it is, just running up in those freaking Morera for some reason, not a defender. He's basically a winger, but it's just like having those guys try to create space for Cucho and then having Rossi try to create space for Cucho. It is like a completely different world. So not having, Rossi there, they struggled, especially with Red Bull that they were pressing them. There was no ball movement. They weren't in sync. And it was tough, man. It was tough. And what are they going to do next year? Because they're going to lose one of them probably, if not half the team. It's what happened? What
If they
happened to
can hold
Columbus?
Nancy,
Yeah, I think that's the most
maybe.
important part.
Maybe.
I feel
Nancy
like
can plug and play anybody.
yeah.
Yeah, we've seen that. Freaking Dwan Jones coming back from the dead.
He wasn't that bad in New England, to be fair. Like I thought that was a really underrated move when they made that move. I really like that move. I have a bunch of DeJuan Jones.
Not for this year, but for next year. Oh yeah,
just for a depth piece this year too. Like
yeah,
they didn't need him, but like he's a really high level player for being depth. You know.
Well, he became a pretty big important part towards the end of their season too. Like he was getting like starts here and there. Like he was one of the first ones to come off the bench.
Right.
Like whatever Nonce saw in him, like he really liked him. Yeah. And he was getting decisive.
He was good at
the
New
bench
England too. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's another thing. Chambos is still there too. We didn't see a lot of him, but we did see some nice things from him too. How do you rate Chambos, Thomas? Like, what did you see from him this year?
I thought he was good whenever he had his moments. There were some games where whenever they were missing a lot of pieces, that's when he would get his starts, and so then you weren't really able to take away what his potential is. But I know that closing out the season, he played pretty well. They also have Aziel Jackson. That was, I thought, a really good move. I feel like that could be a big one for players' development. I think he kind of took off at St. Louis right last year, and then fell off the face of the earth for the longest time. And similar to Russell Rowe, where he maybe found less minutes at his old location and then moved over to Columbus. Now he's really seemed to have some glowing moments in his latter part of the season. It was after the game where Nazi actually subbed him in and subbed him out.
That's right.
That. Yeah, and said like you were, because it was against Philly, I think, and he didn't like something that AZ did, and so it took him out. And after the fact, obviously he responded well because he was starting them for other games. And I think that's something to me that speaks to why I like Nancy's approach to player management. Is he's not afraid to let you know. I mean, if y'all forget, I think it was this season, he sat Cucho for like 3 games.
He put Cucho in timeout too.
Yeah. And so he's not afraid to make those moves, and he's still able to get results because it's just his approach to how he manages his players and his rosters and works with them as professionals, which I think is really I think it's great. And I think there's maybe some people that didn't appreciate that as much. Like Loy Room, who exited. I remember he had some choice words, I think, around hinting at me falling out with Nancy, but I think a lot of respect goes to the way he's able to manage his roster and the professionals he has on there.
You know who's never been put in timeout? The front three of Jorge, Thomas, and Chris. We've never been put in timeout before.
Brother,
not one time by Wilfred Nancy.
I have season tickets at timeout, bro. I don't know why you're lumping me in there. No, I'm glad you brought up the AZ thing, because even for Sorare too, like obviously we don't know what's going to happen. Columbus probably going to look really different next year. But yeah, the way AZ came in, like he started taking Maton's minutes. He took Christian Ramirez minutes. Like he was getting first pick over them, starting over them. And like they were staples in this team for a long time. And yeah, that does say a lot about what Nance saw in him and how he trusted him. And yeah, something for next year. If he does stick with the team, he gets renewed. And he's around next year and Nance sticks around. That is a cheeky little play. He's a fun little scrappy. He's all over the place. He's a menace in the box. He's just zipping all over the place. He's fun to watch.
Yeah. So I don't know if we can have this conversation yet, but kind of looking forward a little bit to next year. What are those teams that are going to kind of emerge? What are those players that are going to emerge that every year there's a team that just kind of comes out of nowhere? LA Galaxy this year, Columbus. Well, they were good at the end of last year because they won it, but Charlotte was a 5th seed this year. Like where are these teams that had no business being as high as they were? Like if you remember, the LA Galaxy were not in the playoffs last year.
I think it's
St. Louis.
St. Louis. Oh yeah, that's a good call.
St. Louis. Hartel, Tuchel or whatever, and then just there, dude. The way they ended the season, incredible stuff. I loved everything that I saw from St. Louis towards the end of the season. Granted, it was a little too late, but it showed a lot of flashes, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and I think I don't know if they haven't announced if the interim's going to be the next coach or not. I think obviously that's still up in the air, but yeah, that's a good call. I like that, and I think they'll potentially bring in another number 9. I don't know if Klaus is going to stay for another year. We haven't seen the roster. Have we seen the roster decisions yet?
Some teams, yeah. Some teams have
it
released a
depends.
little bit of them.
The teams that are still in season won't have released their roster decision.
Yeah, so that'd be. I'll have to look again at their roster makeup because I don't remember if they have even an open spot for a designated player or if there's potentially could buy someone down. But yeah, I think that's one. Montreal, I saw someone shout out in the chat, but they're losing one of their biggest goal producers, Joseph Martinez.
No Joseph, no party.
They have like a collection of like who's who of random pieces from around the MLS. It's like a really weird, like Ruan, Bryce Duke,
Ruan's an FC
Edwards, like Caden Clark. Well, Ruan was their assist number 2 for this season. So
really,
yeah,
after leaving it at the midway point,
he had 6 assists for this season. Like this is just a weird collection of players. Like game started, like Piet had 26, George Campbell had 25. Like that's no like locked in starters on this team at all. Like no stars, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's the issue too, is I think I would say the ownership of Montreal is probably one of the worst in the league. And it's just, you look at the track record of that team, there's been way more bad seasons than good seasons. You basically ran off one of the best coaches to emerge in MLS in a long time because he was bumping heads with the ownership, as I remember what I was reading, and took a contract somewhere else. So that's my only concern, is that they're not going to do enough this offseason to really take them to the next level. They can continue to be a mid-table team and hope for the best in the playoffs, but who's going to be the player that really makes a difference going into next year without bringing in some big piece? At the same time, too, there's already rumors that they're going to move the club. Did you see that?
Montreal? No. Yeah.
There's some rumors that they're about to Detroit, I think is what I was reading.
Detroit?
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds like a terrible idea.
This was like a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how much traction there is, but I don't know, where there's smoke, there's fire.
That's true.
And just given the track record of this ownership group, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be really disappointed. I think you'll hopefully see another Save the Crew like movement. I'm not going to say too much because it's pure speculation, but yeah, like I just don't have faith in this roster.
That's fair.
So,
this ownership group.
I have the list of MLS seasons pulled up here.
Oh my lord!
Which I'll scroll up a little bit because our faces are covered.
Remember when we were talking about the playoffs?
12th, 11th, 19th, 7th, 11th, 17th, 15th, 18th, 18th, 18th. This is Wilfred Nancy, by the way.
Yep. Yeah. One of the they're next to the Chicago. Probably worse than the Chicago Fire in terms of averages, but they're quite honestly one of the worst performing MLS clubs.
God, look at the turnaround with 1 year with Wilfred Nancy. It's insane.
Yeah, like that is real bad.
That's funny. I do like that Jay Blaze brings up Minnesota too. We'll talk about them in just a second when we go over to the West. Real quick before we move over to the West Coast. NYCFC, New York Red Bulls. Who do we have in this matchup?
Oh, before we say that, Red or Dead had a comment. There is a draft. Yeah, we've covered the draft before. That's where the year that we really covered it was the Celentano, Schulte, Kip Keller year. That was fun. Ben Bender, I think, was the number 1 pick that year.
Red or Dead, probably some of his favorite players are probably from the draft, and he doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
It's just a crazy part.
Marcus Zimmerman came from the draft, so yeah, there is a draft system.
Duncan McGuire, how are you gonna leave him off? Who? Yeah, there's a Julian Gressel.
Yeah.
Dang, yeah, there's a ton.
Miles Robinson.
Yeah, Miles Robinson. Yeah, a lot of like big American players that you see in the league now that have been around for a while that like are really important for their teams. A lot of them did come from the draft. No, DK, good bro.
DK, man, DK.
Jack Harrison was a draft pick.
DK was a deep cut. No, Redder, I was excited for you, man. Excited that you were finding all this out. That there is a draft.
Yes, there's a draft and it's really fun and we should cover it again.
But the problem is
it's
that no one
random
cares
players-
about the draft either.
It's random players you've never heard of, but like a lot of them will end up being like somewhat okay. Like
They'll
they're never going to be superstars, but they're going to be solid depth pieces.
There's
They'll
also
show
an
you a
expansion
minute
draft.
highlight package and you'll fall in love.
There
with
is an
them.
expansion draft. San Diego's new next year too. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun. We got to
I
go
mean,
over the rules of the expansion draft because that's always a fun one because no one ever understands what the heck's going on.
Yeah, the NBA lock for daily should be in 6 months. I don't even remember if I set my daily team. I'm just here talking MLS with y'all.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, NYC FC Red Bulls. Who we got? And then we're moving on to the West.
City.
Chris, who you got?
What's the question? I wasn't paying attention. I was MBAing.
City or Red Bulls?
City or
City
Red
or
Bulls?
Red Bulls? As much as it pains me to say, I'm gonna take Red Bulls. I'm gonna take some chaos.
You know what's funny? I'm also on Team Red Bulls.
Oof.
I don't think NYCFC is
Chaos,
going to have
baby.
the way they played. It's another one of those Atlanta things, man. They are coming off a huge win. They are riding high. Granted, they've been sitting around for 3 weeks, so who knows what they're going to look like after. But I don't know, man. This team, if they could take down Columbus, they could take down anybody. And if they show up on the right day, I think collectively. Oh, sorry, Jay Blaze. Collectively, I think they'll get it over NYCFC. It'll be close. It'll be scrappy. It'll be tight. But I do think, yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's Red Bull time, baby.
I got in with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go, so we're good.
Boom.
The what?
My NBA team, I got in with 2 minutes and 45 seconds to
Oh,
go.
nice.
We're good.
I'm pretty sure I did mine. But oh yeah, Austin. Yeah, they literally pulled players and then immediately traded them.
Yeah, so did Charlotte. Charlotte traded someone to LAFC, right? Tajiri Shradi.
Oh wow.
Or
that's
like
a deep cut.
when Cincinnati negotiated with us to not take one of our players and then took one of our players when Nashville took them.
That's kind of wild.
It's like that, the reason they were awful was karma for taking Brandon Vasquez in that way. And literally, we sent Garza over there, I think, to negotiate and them not taking someone. So
Yeah, that's wild.
Yo,
So-
you remember when Miami passed on Daryl DK twice? They had the chance to draft DK twice, and he still fell to us.
Well,
That's how
he was
that's
hurt
how
at the time, so they took.
Yeah, guess what? He's still hurt. Imagine that.
He's been hurt for 3 years.
Poor guy.
Yo, Huffman over here, degenning for MLS auctions for $1. Yeah, dude, really can't get much worse than $1. So
For rares or for limiteds?
yeah, whatever. Don't even matter at this
I
point.
mean, for limiteds, I don't think limiteds ever rise. I think limiteds are just like that's the
Oh.
entry point for people. But like
it'll rise
rares,
to like $5. That's like a 4 or 5x, bro.
I mean, if it's a real
For $1.
real player, if it's a real
Hey,
good player,
It does depend. It does depend on who you're getting.
It's tough. There's some really good players for like $2 or $3 like all the time. So
Oh yeah, dude. Jay Blaze messaged me.
yeah,
the other
rare
day. MLS
yes.
rares right now.
Yeah, rare, yes.
Yeah.
I can see that because it's just that's way too low.
If
I'm
I
already
wasn't
making my
degenning
list.
into NBA, I would be scooping up these classic rares right now. Because yeah, let's have some fun next year, baby. All right, let's talk about these next two series. We had Minnesota taking down RSL. I think we all saw that coming. RSL has just been a downfall since Chicho also got put in timeout and suspended.
Penalties, like
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Both of these teams are rough. And LA taking care of business in Colorado, 5-0 and then 4-1.
oof.
Dear Lord. Dear
Can we
Lord.
talk about that Peck goal against Stefan?
Which one?
Where he just I think Stefan just threw the ball or kicked the ball and it just bounced off of Peck into the goal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah.
That was a big old goalkeeper mistake. If that tells you anything. Well, I mean, Colorado was slipping though at the end of the season. Like Stefan was a little hurt. They had no Cole
I think
Bassett for
Jordy
the end.
was out. Jordy was out too, and then no Bassett. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
just run on empty. It felt like that that was probably the least surprising result. I just felt like LA is going to destroy them. They're pissed because they lost the number one spot and
on decision day.
on decision day in the last seconds, last minutes, honestly. They're who I favorite to just. I'll say they're my favorite to at least make it to the cup. on the west side.
Remember when Colorado was like a dark horse team that people were like, "Oh, they could be good." And
Dude, they had a great season.
And then, oof.
They were just up and down. Like I think at home they were quite good, but that on the road, it's the same. Their on the road form was pretty mediocre.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I think we said it before. I don't remember what show we said it on. It was like, yeah, it was just a bunch of like old American rejects that like went abroad and then didn't work out. So they all came back and they're all just hanging out in Colorado, doing the things you do in Colorado, just vibing. And yeah, they were fun.
Vibing.
Dude, they were vibing up in Colorado, man.
They need Jack Price back.
Yeah, rest in peace, Jack Price. But yeah, on the other side, and Jay Blaze brought it up, Minnesota, even for next year, man. Like I know they didn't really blow RSL out of the water, but yo, Kelvin Yeboah, they have Pereira. What's that? The other defender they got. They made some moves in the midseason, man. And this is coming from a team who didn't have a coach to start the season. They got him a few weeks into the end of the season already, and they came in. Robin Lott is back. Ladino, he's back. So this Minnesota team, man, they're a scrappy little team. Granted, LA Galaxy's a hard hill to climb, but this Minnesota team is showing life into the playoffs and maybe into next year. No, maybe.
Yeah, I think they're okay. They're what they are. They're a 5-6. They're a mid-table team. You know, like they're never gonna have that Galaxy level like jump, right? They're never gonna be like a 1-2 seed. They just don't have the star. They don't have the star talent. Like Lott is good, but he's not a star.
Yeah, they need to figure out what they're going to. I assume Pookie's not going to be with the club next year.
Oh, no,
that was a really bad move on their part in terms of just the amount of plays and the money they're spending in order to have him. I think if they're able to move their roster around a bit, and I know they have a new GM president that started this year, and he's obviously going to be trying to do a lot of that. Came from Brentford, right? They were kind of famous for a lot of money balling, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a team that I think has the front office to make it happen, I definitely could see it being them. I think it's going to be more practical signings, right? But I think it's still going to be some potentially great talent. I think they are a team going into next year, could be very good, and they have a great fan base up there. Do I think they can go past the Galaxy with this form that the Galaxy have at home? No, they'd have to win on penalties. But I just think this Galaxy team they're out to prove something right now.
Shit.
Yeah,
they're out to prove a whole bunch right now. God, and dude, LA Galaxy
is just next level. Puig is just, I mean, it's a delight to watch him play. I'll just say that. That's how I feel every time I tune into a Galaxy game.
He's a world-class player in his prime that's not old. That's like, it's fun. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of where we're going these days, where it's like, it's just one of those things that the league, as it grows and as we get bigger names, sure, we're going to have him. We'll talk about Giroud. I want to talk about old, not doing anything. We can go 13 miles to the other side of LA and have that conversation. But I do think, and like Ricky Puig is probably like the leader of that, where he came really young, did all that, just balling out, having the time of his life. And I think that's making other younger players want to come and do the same thing. And dude, the league is just,
well, I think you got guys like Driussi, and I mean, they're Insigne sort of, that were like kind of upper 20s when they came over. But we're also kind of like at that sort of level, like that world-class level. And I think, yeah, the younger that you can get those guys, the better. Like you talk about your Thiago Almadas and your guys that you can kind of develop into talent. But it's great to be able to get established stars already that can come in and just already be good from day one.
Jumping back to what we were talking about with the Denke signing, I think that's that type of signing right there.
Oof, that's a high praise.
Yeah, I mean, what is he, 23, 24, something?
23, 24. He was, I think, Golden
He's
Boot
still
winner.
U23 eligible for the start of next season.
He was Golden Boot winner in Belgium a year ago.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point, MLS is a slight step up from Belgium, like competition-wise, but Bruges is also a decent team, so depends on which team you're playing on.
That was one of their better seasons, I believe. They had a pretty good roster.
Right.
Do you know who else was the top scorer in Belgium before coming over here?
Giakoumakis.
Pipers. How's Kuipers doing? It's working out real great for that top scorer from Belgium, huh?
Look where he went.
Granted,
True.
okay, he did go
Very
to Chicago.
true.
That's
There are
on you,
other
dog.
reasons for that.
That's on you, dog. But no, I think the Dinky signing does seem, from what I've gathered, people are pretty excited about what he can do and are hopeful for his abilities over here in the MLS. Yo, shout out to Javik too. There you go. Is stoked that Chris is here. That's right. We're all stoked. We're all better for it. But yeah, dude, this LA Galaxy attack, man. Puig, Peck, Paintsill, freaking Joveljic is back and doing the Joveljic things in the box. Is it pretty safe to say, as fun as Minnesota has been in the post-Ray no-show era, I think it's pretty safe to say that LA is going to win this pretty easily, right?
I think they're undefeated at home this season.
Yeah, oof.
Wait, LAFC or LA Galaxy?
LA Galaxy.
Galaxy.
Yeah, Galaxy. I thought we were talking about maybe the Western Conference final between the two LA teams, because that's where we are definitely headed. But
that's going to be a fun game.
Yeah. Remember we watched the last El Trafico together?
That's right. We did.
That was fun. So yeah, I can't wait for this one.
Listen, man, watching El Trafico is just fun wherever you're watching it, whether you're just on your computer, on your couch, in your bed, whatever it is. But watching El Trafico with a bunch of other MLS sickos that are just as hype as you are, dear Lord, man, that was shout out to Sober for helping us build a community and meet friends that you just go out to and watch Atlanta lose and then watch El Trafico together.
That El Trafico is at LAFC because of one goal and goal differential. Like, that's the difference in where that game is played.
Oh.
So
you don't.
They had the
you
same
don't know
number
how that
of wins,
happened, do you?
and they had one goal differential.
Chris, you don't know exactly what happened on decision day, do you?
I was not paying attention.
How crazy! All right, Thomas, fill this man in with how.
Walk me through it.
Walk him through it.
So, I don't remember what happened. I think LAFC trounced their opponent pretty strongly. Like, was
3-1.
3-1,
3-1,
and then
beat San Jose,
and then it's at Houston, and LA Galaxy get a penalty, and Peck scores the penalty, and there's like 5 minutes left, and then all of a sudden Houston counters down the field, final minutes,
friend of the show, Griffin Dorsey,
day, and slots it. Was it Griffin that Griffin headed it in, right?
No, Griffin crossed it.
He crossed it in. Was it Ponce that headed it in?
I don't even remember.
I don't remember who it was, but Houston player heads it in the final minutes to knock
the
Galaxy. Yes, yeah.
Galaxy legend Daniel Steres, by the way.
There you go.
Steres ruining the hopes and dreams of LA
Yeah,
again, one final time.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, it's funny. That's how they got knocked down, because then the LAC game was already done at that point. So they were like watching in the crowd, you can kind of see the crowd's reaction change, where the fans were all pissed off.
I do remember that.
There's a video,
watching the Peck penalty and then watching Steres score.
Like Galaxy, all they had to do was win. That's it. All they had to do.
All they had to do was not lose.
Yeah, all they had to do is not lose.
Yeah, they lost 2-1, and LAFC had to win by 2 goals. So
yeah,
which they did, obviously.
Crazy.
Yeah,
Yo, Boston Sean in the chat. What is up? Who's this new guy, Chris? I don't know. We just picked him off the street, to be honest. They're like, hey, you look like you like MLS. Kind of hop on board.
He washed up from the river.
Yeah, I was on my raft for a little while, just kind of pedaling, looking for a shore, and I found this shore. So here we are.
Hopefully, it wasn't the Jersey Shore. Weeks. All right, let's go to the other side of this real quick. Obviously, LA Galaxy is going to win, but on the other side, you had LAFC Vancouver. Vancouver and the Vanny Sartinis gave it their all, but it wasn't enough to trounce this LAFC
Good for
team.
the Fighting Sartinis to push it to 3.
Yes.
You know?
And it was a fun series, too. Vanny Sartini gave us quotes for a lifetime, boy. You could write a book with all the quotes that Sartini dropped. God, I love that man. Not as much as Wilfred Nancy, but Vanny Sartini is right there to close second. And LAFC advanced. And on the other side, too, dude, Houston. Okay, we got to talk about this, baby. I completely forgot. Yo, shout out to Daniel Cooper. Shout out to Seattle. Obviously, great. Look, we all kind of knew that Houston wasn't going to have the legs to beat Seattle. But boom, Carrasquilla gets a red card in the first game. Okay, we need him in the midfield. It's all right. Hector Herrera is back from injury. He only played like a third of the season. Whatever, dude. It's the playoffs. Second game, They're fighting. They're scrapping. My dude, Hector Herrera, walks away from the ref and spits at his feet. Just blatantly. Just hawk to it at him, bro. Straight up gave him the old hawk to it. Bro, this hurt my soul, okay?
What a decision. What a decision that is.
Quite
one of my
literally
favorite players.
His last moment with the club too, because he's not coming back.
Bro, Houston declined his option. Hector Herrera spit at the referee, got a red card, and what was a do or die game? Literally, you're fighting for your life, fighting for your season. Veteran player. Granted, we all know Hector Herrera is known for shenanigans. Okay, he's not new to this whole shenanigan game. My brother spitting right at the referee. What the heck were you expecting? So bad that Houston was like, nah, you're not coming back next year. God, I love MLS.
Yeah. I was rooting for Houston. I wanted to see another run from the Fighting Olsons.
Oh, the Fighting Ben Olsons love a good playoff run, and they love a dramatic playoff exit too.
Yeah.
Kind of sad that Houston played half of this series with a man down, with the red cards in both, and they still only lost on PKs twice. Like, they still had chances to win the freaking series and couldn't do it. And that does not fill me with confidence for Seattle. The wild thing is Seattle's unbeaten in 9. They have not lost since August, which is insane because they seem like they're barely surviving anything right now. Not one of the hottest teams in the league.
Oh, well, and they were also missing Jordan Morris and Rusnak for that second game. So Seattle wasn't necessarily healthy in that series. So it was in Houston's court. Like, all they had to do was not spit at the referee, and maybe they would have had a chance. That's it. It's not that hard.
Sometimes,
not that hard.
You just got to do it.
Yeah. I don't feel like I was impressed with Seattle. I was impressed with Seattle defensively whenever they had to play against 10
men
players. Not when 10 men. I'm like, oh well, they're just trying not to lose. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be an interesting match. It's at LAFC with the next round. If they can do it, I'll say I'll give Seattle a shot to make it to Cup. But if they can't, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Chris, I know you're good with the sheets over there. Can you tell me the last time that Seattle beat LAFC real quick? Because this is really the big old thing right here. And we've talked to Daniel Cooper about it before. Seattle, their kryptonite is LAFC. They cannot get it done. They haven't been able to get it done in a very long. Oh, sorry, Daniel. I'm sorry. I brought it up. See, look at that. Daniel came out of nowhere. Hasn't even been in the chat in a couple minutes. Now look at him.
I can tell you the all-time record is 13 wins for LA, 5 for Seattle, 4 draws. LA has won the last 3 games this year and has not allowed a goal in any of those 3 games. I don't have any more series history below that, but it doesn't look very good.
That doesn't bode well.
Yeah, it's
that seems like a mismatch. Away. Yeah, you just barely scrape by a double red card team. You don't know.
Y'all better check those betting odds because if for some reason they're skewed the wrong way, you better hop on that.
To be fair, though, Don Garber doesn't know which way to fix the matches because he's already knocked out Messi, so you never know.
Yeah, and Seattle, they find their ways. I mean, granted, dude, I've been high. Seattle's one of those teams that about like midway through, there was 2 teams, all right, Orlando and Seattle. They just took the league by storm, right behind Messi and the overproducing Miami Flamingos, whatever. Either way, dude, Seattle was hot. Orlando was hot. I had them going in. And then again, at the end of the season, Seattle's starting to do the same things over again. They're sitting back. They're not creating things. It's just not happening. They had a couple injuries. Rusnak keeps hitting the freaking post. It's tough out here.
They still haven't lost since August, and their goal differential is 3 behind the LA Galaxy and 4 behind LAFC. So, like, overall quality-wise for the whole season, not bad.
That's true. But let's take
I don't think they're as far away as people think. But, yeah, LAFC has kind of been their boogeyman. Yeah. So
Not only are they their kryptonite, and Thomas, I don't know if you agree with me that LAFC, and I think we had a conversation about this about the Galaxy and LAFC a while ago, is that one of these teams is not like the other. And while LA Galaxy do have their defensive woes and whatever, like yeah, they could be broken down. LAFC, their attack is kind of sputtering. Since they brought in Giroud, he scored in what the Open Cup final and Leagues Cup final. I think that's it. Like
I
he
think
had
Kamara has had more production than Giroud.
yeah, Kai Kamara is making Giroud look like a scrub.
I think this is just the typical. I think it's two things potentially. There we go. That Giroud has been playing since for almost over a year straight now.
Fair.
I mean, basically, yeah, nonstop playing, and so I feel like he's someone that would fall into that realm of has a rocky start to begin in their MLS career after lots of success in Europe, and then comes into next season, just absolutely kills it.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think he, if you think about his age, how much he's played across the last, I mean, nonstop since summer 23, like that's a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised that he's had some issues with scoring, but it has been inconsistent on the Galaxy's, or sorry, on LAFC's front in terms of their ability to score. They only scored one goal. I think Bouanga had a couple of big chances missed in that game. So they really, I think it's going to come down to, can Bouanga be playoff Bouanga, Leagues Cup Bouanga?
Right.
And if so, then I think, yeah, they're going to just, they'll win that game. And then it comes down to which, to me, if it's Galaxy versus LAFC, I don't care where it's played. I don't care who's trending which way that way. It's just I don't
be a free for all.
It's a free for all. Like to me, I can't predict
gonna be
that
goals.
game.
It's gonna be goals.
And if you ask me in the 60th minute and the score's 2-0 one way or the other, I'd still say I can't predict this game because every time it's just an absolute, I mean, beautiful disaster of absolute chaos.
I can predict that the ball will be on the field for 90 minutes, and that's all I can predict. I do have the numbers for Seattle LAFC now. Last time they drew was 2023. It looks like basically the season opener, 2023. Last time Seattle won was 2021 in May.
That was when I think LAFC had their worst season too.
Yeah, there's only been 2 draws in since that time too. So it's been pretty heavily LAFC since Cherundolo, since Cherundolo has been there.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know why Seattle can't do it. I mean, and it's weird too because Seattle's such a good defensive team that you'd think they'd be able to absorb that pressure from LAFC wanting to play on like LAFC doesn't want the ball. They're like, yeah, dude, Seattle just kind of sit there with it and do nothing with it. And then I don't know what it is. And
I think part of it is Seattle is kind of an older team, at least from what I kind of feel like. And I think they do have trouble with speed. Like they have the ball a lot, but they do have trouble with handling the counterattack speed of LAFC.
Yeah.
Well, good thing LAFC stopped countering and said, hey, Giroud, hold this ball up real quick. Like, hey, let's just change the way we were shredding every team up and down around MLS just to bring in Giroud. And you know what? We're going to change it all up. We're no longer dynamic. Giroud, just lay it off to someone real quick. That's it. That's what you got to do, and it ain't working. It ain't working, Chief.
Yeah, well, they knew it wasn't fair for the other team, so they learned their lesson in kindergarten, and they are nice to their friends.
I don't know. Well, it'll be interesting. It looks like Griezmann's on his way to LA too, so maybe that changes things.
That's another card I might degen into that one. On my
Griezmann,
the Griezmann card. He's actually kind of still expensive for his end season.
Hey, buy the rumor, sell the news. Rebuy it again before the season starts, baby. Let's go. Come on now. That's the plan. Those are your tips and tricks. That is our 5 tips on how to play Sorare MLS in 2025. By Griezmann.
But it's not 2025 yet. What do I do right now?
You buy Dinky.
You sit here and hang out with us and buy Dinky. That's right.
Dinky.
That's right.
I gotta run, y'all, by the way.
Yeah. I was just about to shut this down anyway. Real quick.
Okay, well, let's do it.
Yeah, dude. LAFC, Seattle. Who you got?
LAFC
LAFC
LAFC by a mile.
LAFC by a mile.
Not close.
Listen, man, Daniel Cooper's a friend. I got a bunch. I have way more Seattle cards than I have LAFC cards. I want that utility, baby. This is gonna be the one. Put down that money. Get that plus 10,000 for Seattle to win against LAFC, baby. I'm gonna go with Seattle strictly for Sorare utility because that's the way it is. That's right, Daniel.
I might have some LAFC cards.
We believe. We believe. He's going to start chanting over here in the chat. Dude, this has been an incredible talk running through the first round of the playoffs, getting off topic like always. Chris, the MLS card guy, is back. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the only reason this show is watchable and entertaining. That is what's up. Thomas, thank you so much for being here and taking up the entire show to talk about Atlanta. And yeah, dude, Messi.
Peace up, A-Town down.
Yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. Good luck this weekend. We'll be back with more NBA, some more MLS, all that fun talk. And Chris, close us out. Let these people know what you haven't said for the last 6 months.
Dude, I'm really sad that my baseball credits are expiring after having them for the entire season because they just roll over every time. My baseball credits are expiring.
You're about to get a red card just like Seattle because, dude, don't talk baseball in this stream. We don't end it like that. Dude, Atlanta, you're going down, baby. I can't wait to